Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a diving board. You're looking down at the water. You know you want to jump, but your feet feel glued to the board. It's not the water that's stopping you. It's the fear of that very first leap. How many of us stay perched on that edge, just sort of waiting for the perfect moment to dive? How often do we let doubt and hesitation or the need for that flawless plan paralyze us? Well, the fact is, life's best journeys don't begin with certainty. They begin with courage. And your first step or action is the trigger. It sets everything in motion. Action signals to your mind and to the universal field, the field of energy, that you're ready. It's the first domino that tips over, and it creates that chain reaction of momentum. You have to take the action. And the breakthroughs happen. Waiting for the stars to align is a myth. It's not about waiting. It's about starting. Very simply, starting. Look at the innovators and look at the dreamers we admire. Every single one of them started small. They weren't waiting for permission or for perfection. They were chasing progress. I'm sure you remember Walt Disney. Well, do you know that he once got fired for lacking imagination? Can you imagine Walt Disney, lack of imagination? Crazy. But he got fired. But he didn't let that failure define his future, did he? Look where Disney is today. And do you remember Rosa Parks, for those of you who are American? She was ahead of her time. She was thinking about Black Lives Matter way before it mattered for most people. And she wasn't thinking about going down in history when she refused to give up her seat on the bus. No. She wasn't aiming to lead a movement. Do you know what she was doing? She was simply standing up for herself, and she took that action by refusing to get off that seat. And what about Oprah? Her first step was taking a chance on a small local TV gig. She didn't know, she had no idea it was going to lead to global influence. She just grabbed with both hands that first opportunity. Have you heard about the fourth dimension? I like to call it the dimension of opportunities. The first opportunity might not be right for you, but the energetic chained reaction sets your future in motion. And you won't know it until you try it. So what do these stories have in common? These guys didn't wait to feel ready. They moved forward on an unclear path. And that's exactly what I want you to do. In the 80s, I'll tell you a story about myself. I had a party planning company. I was like a 10%er. I was taking a cut from everyone I hired to create the parties, from the caterer to the band, to hiring the glasses and the cutlery, to the venue. I had a talent for sort of putting and organizing events. So I used that talent and I took a small cut. But the problem was, if the caterer, let's say, put too much salt in the meal that day, I got blamed for the whole party, not the caterer. And I only got 10%. But one day I was invited by mistake, opportunity, to a wholesale event of party accessories outside London where I used to live. And I decided to go. And when I got there and I saw wholesalers of helium gas cylinders, not very sexy, not very pretty, and all types of balloons, I suddenly got an idea. I got that idea like in 10 seconds, in 2 seconds. I was going to open up my own balloon shop, and I was not only going to sell balloons and party accessories, but I was also going to create mega balloon structures, of which I had no idea how to do at the time, but I could sort of see them. I would go from earning 10% as the go-between to 70% after overheads as the main supplier of all these balloons and party accessories. You know what? I was even hired by the Russian government to decorate big auditoriums in Moscow when the Russian government signed Glasnost. That was when Russia became friendly with the West in 1986, I think it was. I had no idea how to run a shop. I did not even have the money to open the shop. But I was so on fire with my idea that I drove back home to my home office and I typed up, in those days, sort of a typewriter, a 2-page investment offer to 40 friends. And I asked them to fund me, each one for £1,000. I was in London, explaining that a balloon shop would be fabulously successful, as balloons were cheaper than flowers and the idea and the concept was new. And I think that what happened, I was so enthusiastic about my vision that my vision became contagious. And all of my friends, they gave me £1,000, pounds. And 3 days later, I had raised all the money. I found a little shop premise on a market space and I opened a shop. I had a great idea. But 6 years later, due to my lack of business knowledge and management, my shops, by then I had opened 2 stores, had run out of reserves and out of cash flow. And I didn't have a choice but to declare insolvency. It was very embarrassing. And even though the ending was really not great, the start was fabulous. I learned a lot. It was earth school. And eventually, I went on to opening another business. You have to go for it. Eventually, you strike gold in life. But waiting to start is a mental cesspool of negative thoughts. So what's holding you back? I'll tell you something. You are the force that really controls everything. Business is a spiritual game. It is. And step out of yourself. I want to see you take life to your next level. Why? Because everybody can. And I want you to learn how to wire yourself internally, how you feel, how you think, how you act. Wire yourself. Be aware of it. About 45 to 50% of everything that we do daily is a habit. Yep, it's a habit. So just make sure that you create good habits. Be aware of what you do. Be aware of what you do repetitively. Ask yourself, is doing or thinking this way for my better good? And if it's not, retool yourself. Re-engineer yourself. You're organic. You're not made in stone. You are not a silicon chip. You must create yourself as you go along. You want to go along and you want to get aligned with the type of person that's going to best carry out your purpose, your mission. I give workshops, digital courses, and live group coaching so that people can improve. It's all doable, sometimes easily, and sometimes it's not so easy. But when you take that action to make it happen, it happens. Let me tell you something. Fear is loudest when you're standing still. You're not moving. But the second that you start moving, it loses its grip. Fear loses its grip. And the antidote to fear, it's not overthinking. The antidote to fear is taking action. Tiny, imperfect, messy actions. Uncertainty, that's normal. No one ever has that full roadmap. But here's the magic. The act of moving forwards lights the way like a car. And you're going to discover the next steps that you have taken to be the first. So if you want to survive, or do you want to succeed? The question might be a no-brainer, but think of the commitment. That commitment that success requires. When there is no security net. When there's no security net, guess what? You get to discover who you are. So how can you begin today? And I'm going to give you some tips. First, shrink your goal. Don't focus on the entire mountain. Just take one small step towards the base of your goal. Another thing you want to do is you want to silence your inner critic, your monkey voice, because progress beats perfection every time. Done is better than won. So do it. And celebrate every win. Recognize the courage it took to start. Because of the courage, celebrate yourself. And use that as fuel for your next step. You don't need a crystal ball. You don't need that 5-year, 10-year plan to create your dream life, your ideal future. All you need is that first imperfect, messy step. Send the email, write the first paragraph, make the call. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be done. So the difference between success and regret, you know where it is? It lies in one decision. Will you take that first step, or are you going to stand still? Your choice. So I want today to be the day that you decide. I want today the day that you decide to move forward. I hope you will. The world is waiting for the version of you that takes bold, unapologetic action. And if you ever feel stuck, remember you're not alone. I'm here to cheer you on every step of the way. Anyhow, what are you going to choose today? The edge of that diving board or the thrill of the dive? Bye.